Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining today's session, the HDMI effect, why one cable still rules them all. So today's webinar is about HDMI. Just want to talk about how HDMI has been with us for more than 20 years. And in tech terms, that's several lifetimes, and yet it's still the backbone of AV connectivity. So in today's webinar, we'll explore why HDMI continues to matter technically, practically, and strategically. By the end, I hope that you'll have a refreshed perspective on why HDMI remains the cable that we can't get away from and how it's the golden standard in today's AV ecosystem. Before we continue on the webinar, I would just like to give a little brief introduction to PureLink's history. So since 2002, over 2 decades ago, PureLink began when our founder, Min-Soo Park, identified a weakness in the original HDCP specification, recognizing the lack of support for commercial applications. He partnered with Intel to reshape its future, setting the stage for our pioneering role in the AV industry. And here you can see PureLink's history in a format of a timeline. In 2002, PureLink was the first one to develop the first DVI over fiber cable. And to tie in today's webinar about HDMI, PureLink's also been a part of, like in 2016, pioneering UHD 4K60 and HDMI matrix switching. And more recent milestone that PureLink's been able to reach in 2022 is our first 8K DisplayPort and 8K HDMI over fiber cables. And another recent milestone that's not shown on this timeline in 2025 is that we've launched a new initiative called PushGo. It's our all-in-one meeting room solution that incorporates various forms of video and audio hardware to meet integrators' more efficient installation, easy use for their end users. And here we have a diverse range of brands from PureLink that redefines excellence in the AV industry, which enables system configuration within any design platform or infrastructure. First, on our left, we have Icon, which is our proprietary automated software control system. And then we have our PushGo, our all-in-one meeting room solution. Then we have our Max2 mission-critical cross-platform matrix switcher. Next is our PureStream AV over IP solutions brand. Pure Media, which is our first generation cross-platform matrix switcher brand. Then our HD Tools Swiss Army knife AV solution, and then Total Wire, which for total connectivity. Together with all these brands, they let integrators build long-lasting, reliable systems for their users. With that in mind, with all these brands that we have in PureLink, we've been able to proudly serve more than 400 clients. Those clients, as you can see, are part of various financial institutions, cruise ships, theme parks, universities, government and military, and many more. So with that in mind, and our little brief introduction for who we are as a company, as PureLink, I will begin today's session on HDMI. So HDMI has a huge impact and prominence in today's world. And there's a reason why there's a huge importance on HDMI. First and foremost, the reason why it's important is because of its value. So as of last year, 2024, HDMI is a cable market valued at $3.17 billion. That projection won't be decreasing anytime soon. Actually, the cable market is projected to be valued close to $5 billion by the end of this year and will continue to grow with many years to come. The reason being why the market value being so high is because the rising demand for high definition content like 4K and 8K TV. And with the rising demand comes with the expansion of gaming and streaming industries and constant development of new technologies to meet the demand. Little fun fact is that the video streaming market has about 1.4 billion users in 2024. The US gaming market has about 190 million players in the year 2025, which is part of a $63 billion industry. And the gaming live streaming market is projected to be about $2.4 billion from last year. Why am I bringing this up? The reason I'm bringing this up is because in order for these markets to thrive, they need the AV equipment, and all those AV equipment comes with HDMI technology, whether it be the ports or the cables to connect the sources and the displays. There's no streaming industry or gaming industry without these equipments. But outside of gaming and the streaming industry, there's a lot of prevalence in different parts of the industry as well. Here we can see HDMI in action. There are various locations where you could see HDMI in today's setting. For example, first is our conference rooms or meeting rooms, right? Every conference room will have a conference table with a table cubby that may have a VGA. Nowadays, they won't have VGA, but all of it will have HDMI ports, LAN ports, extenders that'll increase the length and signal distance of the HDMI signals from the table to the display, or a switcher that'll act as an intermediary of the source and the display in the conference room. Other examples would be like studios, whether it be for broadcasting or production studios that also incorporate a control room inside of it. Every control room, as all AV integrators know, will always have some sort of switching hardware that has HDMI involved. Also, we see it everywhere in digital signage, HDMI signals being used to project and extend advertisement marketing. See it everywhere in the airport, stadiums. All of these are extended through HDMI, or I should say most of these will be extended through HDMI over fiber or CAT extenders. Then in the entertainment part of the industry, you have sports bars, gaming events, live events like concerts where you see these LED walls with video walling. A lot of the equipments incorporate HDMI equipment, no matter how small it'll be, like the extensions and extenders that I've mentioned for digital signage. And then the new part of the AV industry, resi-commercial. So resi-commercial has been an up and coming or emerging part of the industry where a lot of users are creating these home theaters, home offices, because of their hybrid work schedule, or even with a lot of corporate jobs these days that have been hybrid for the past couple of years, but are looking more in office settings. They've been redeveloping and redesigning their offices for more resi-commercials, which means more of an architecture and aesthetics where it's not so corporate setting, but a more residential settings for employees to work in and easier to facilitate and share content with each other or information or projects. which ties back into these new conference rooms with huddle spaces as well. And just a little quick fun fact right here, with the resi-commercial part of the industry emerging, the equipment used, such as displays, speakers, and cameras for these applications, actually represent over 76% of the AV hardware market since 2023. So now that we know the value and see the HDMI, we'll dive a little deep into the fundamentals of what HDMI is and where we see it when setting up the system. So HDMI fundamentals. What is HDMI? HDMI is a high definition multimedia interface. It is a cable to create copper transmission lines for transmissions of data, compressed or uncompressed digital audio data. Funny enough, HDMI was introduced in 2002, which was the same time PureLink was founded. HDMI 1.0 was developed, and then as the years have gone by, as you can see, 1.4 to 2.0, 2.1, and actually this past summer, 2.2 was now released. But in today's everyday settings, HDMI 2.0 is the more prevalent and common usage in switchers, amps, extenders. It's more common to see 4K 60 rather than 8K content at the moment, unless you're diving into more of the gaming and streaming industry or production side, where high resolution content is needed and required. But as you can see, HDMI 2.2, which was released this year, this past summer, I should say, the maximum resolution capability is 16K at 60 Hertz, and it uses FRL just the way HDMI 2.1 is. And just a little breakdown of what FRL means. FRL is the newer technology side of HDMI used compared to HDMI 1.4 and HDMI 2.0. The older technology is called TMDS, which means transition minimized differential signaling. It just means it uses 3 data lanes and a separate clock lane to transmit data. However, once we move to HDMI 2.1 and 2.2, FRL means fixed rate link. So all this means is that it actually uses all 4 data lanes inside the HDMI cable, and it also embeds the clock signal with it to transmit data. This also gives the advantage for higher capable HDMI cables because it increases the bandwidth to support the higher resolution and refresh rates. And with the fundamentals, you can't leave out the key embedded protocols that come with HDMI. As you can see, the main embedded protocols, as everyone may know, are HDCP, EDID, and CEC. HDCP, high digital content protection. A majority of the AV products used today for HDMI 2.0 will be compliant with HDCP 2.2 as it's designed to protect 4K content. But 2.3 you typically won't see at a 4K 60 or HDMI 2.0 AV HDMI hardware, because that's a version of HDCP that offers stronger encryption, and it's necessary for only newer and higher resolution content and devices. As of today, there's not as many or common system designs that require that high of a resolution content and device. And then here we have EDID, which basically communicates the support formats between the display and a source. You're able to customize it and troubleshoot it based on the capabilities of the hardware you're using as a middleman device between the source and display. And then CEC, one remote controls devices through HDMI. And then with all these key embedded protocols, there's also in order for these to be established, and there are also common issues with HDMI right here. HDMI, there's commonly mistakes found with EDID mismatch, HDCP authentication failure, handshake errors. To fix this, typically before we go into the tools and tips, HDMI handshake occurs with first the hot plug detect. This is just telling the source, well, I'm sorry, the display is telling the source, hey, I'm here, let's communicate. And the handshake starts from there. And then once the hot plug is detected, it goes into an EDID communication where the source is reading the capabilities of the display. And then once it reads the capabilities, that's when it reads the HDCP authentication. If it's compliant, if the source is compliant, then it'll give the key, unlock, and then you will see video and audio run through the display. Typically, a lot of AV integrators will call in about the HDMI issue, and they say, oh, hey, I set up this product and I saw this black screen on my TV. If it doesn't say no signal and the screen says, or the screen just displays a black screen, typically in one of those three parts of the handshake of HDMI, there is a failure. Just need to identify which part of the handshake was the failure. Typically, it's the EDID. Sometimes it could just be the HDCP compliance between the hardware and the source and display. But for EDID, you would just need to use an emulator to copy the EDID to match the source and display. But sometimes in the AV world, when we're switching between multiple channels and the handshaking gets mixed up and the signals are not locked in, it's sometimes best to use a converter or HDMI splitter to help lock in the signal. That way it does not create latency and handshake errors between the channels when switching. And then HDCP compliant devices, you just need to double check that the hardware you're using and products you're using are all matching the same HDCP version. And then again, you can use signal testers and analyzers to help troubleshoot your problems. So on this slide, this chart I have here, I know today we're talking about HDMI, but HDMI is not the one and be all cable used in every AV ecosystem, right? There are 4 different types of cables typically used outside of LAN or CAT cables. We have our HDMI, SDI, DisplayPort, and fiber cables. Each to their own. They have their pros and cons based on their specs, their cost, efficiency, the length that it can go up to without dropping the signal. Right here, HDMI has 3 green checks for Pro AV relevance because it's widely used, it's universally used in all equipment. The other cables like SDI is primarily used for like broadcasting situations or systems. Display ports, you'll only really typically see it in PC displays, so for like gaming setups, because DisplayPort is used for high resolution gaming to reduce the latency and increase the fluidity of high definition gaming. And fiber cables aren't the universal cables to be used. As everyone knows, it is one of the more highly cost cables to use. That is why HDMI is used in a numerous amount of products. So after discussing this, just the fundamentals and the specs of HDMI, we're going to dive into the practicality and the strategic use of HDMI with any emerging trends or innovations that appear in today's AV world. So today, HDMI remains a vital AV connectivity standard and will continue to be vital in every professional application, every, if not most. As I mentioned before, this past summer, HDMI 2.2 was released. The bandwidth increased to 96 gigabytes per second. The max resolution for this is 12K at 120 and 16K at 60 Hertz. It also supports eARC, VRR, ALLM, and QFT. Just to go over these acronyms real quick, eARC is just a simplified version for connectivity, which provides greater ease of use and supports the most advanced audio formats and highest audio quality. For VRR, this is the variable refresh rate, which reduces and eliminates lag, stutter, and frame tearing for more fluid and better detailed gameplay. ALLM, this is the auto low latency mode. This allows ideal latency settings to automatically be set and allowed for smooth, lag-free, and uninterrupted viewing and interactivity. And then finally, we have QFT, which is our quick frame transport spec of HDMI. This reduces latency for smoother, no lag gaming and real-time interactive virtual reality gaming. So typically you will see this in the gaming part of the industry where you have PC gamers for like esports that really, or even live streaming that will not allow any lag or latency at all. It needs to be spot on, fluid, and so forth. And then over here next, we have our AV over IP with HDMI endpoints. AV over IPs have actually been here for quite a while now, but it's still the emerging, most cost-efficient, predominant system for scalability, matrix switching, depending on what the system is designed for, right? But every AV over IP encoder and decoder or transmitter and receiver, you will always see there being an HDMI input port and an HDMI output port or an HDMI loop out port, depending what endpoint you're looking at. And then as of late, recently, I know USB-C has been a huge gain factor just for the meeting room and huddle room spaces itself. Just quickly going back to the beginning, how I mentioned about Resi Merchal, a lot of the users who are using these meeting rooms and home offices, they have laptops or tablets that incorporate USB-C ports. Now there's hybrid systems that will incorporate any USB systems like USB-C and HDMI with Dante. And right here, I'm just going to be showing a quick table to show the comparison between USB-C and HDMI. There's a reason why USB is not widely being used as the main data transmission as per se, or for signals. But as you can see, for this table, I just kept it to 2.1 to keep it more relevant to the AV world. But it is pretty similar. HDMI 2.1 here has a higher threshold of capabilities than USB-C DP alt mode. As you can see, the bandwidth is higher, 48 gigabytes per second versus 40. The max video resolution is higher than USB-C. The display modes are pretty similar, where both can do mirroring and extension, but the common usage for both HDMI and USB-C are pretty different now. USB-C, you'll typically see it in more portable electronic devices like laptops, phones, tablets. Then you got more stationary electronic devices where you'll find the HDMI ports like TVs, projectors, monitors, and gaming consoles. I know that I said laptops have USB-C ports, but they also still incorporate HDMI ports, as this is just the golden rule for any AV equipment, HDMIs can be widely used. The reason being is that think of any major TV or display manufacturer or company you can think of, like Sony or Samsung, right? The reason being is if the companies typically just wanted to switch all HDMI to USB-C, this would be very highly impractical, as all the equipments that were widely used for HDMI would need to be all switched out. And USB-C is not universally compatible with other equipments, just because, as you can see in this chart, in parentheses, it says alt mode, right? There's a reason why USB-C has alt mode. That means that USB-C needs a specific feature called DP alt mode in order to carry video and audio and transmit it to display. If it does not have this feature, then you cannot transmit video and audio through USB-C. And that's just how it is with USB-C currently, and HDMI does not need that. HDMI is universally compatible with every AV product. It just matters about whether it's HDMI 2.1, 2.0, 1.4, right? The higher you go, for HDMI versions, it is still backwards compatible with the lower versions of HDMI. So there's no reason to worry about that. So as it's important for integrators to keep in mind that even though USB-C is a versatile cable to be used, it's important to design for both HDMI and other requirements to an integrator's system or project. And the most important thing to designing a system is the ability to future-proof it as well, and always future-proof of using HDMI, as it's still the anchor for every AV ecosystem out there. So I would just like to now go over what we have as PureLink for solutions that extend HDMI's role in real-world application systems. First, we have our HD tools. This is our Swiss Army solution brand. And first, we have our PS610, which is a 6x1 4K 60 presentation switcher with Dante. This is a seamless presentation switcher that has 2 USB-C input ports and 4 HDMI input ports. However, that 4th HDMI input port is located on the receiver box. As you can see in this picture, the smaller box is that receiver extension. This extender is actually connected via the HD-based T3.0 mirrored output port on the actual switcher itself. It has a Dante 2x2 audio input output. And it also features an auto and manual switching mode. This is ideal for any meeting spaces, entertainment setup, home offices, needing easy integration with AV or USB-based systems. Next, we have our SX2 8800. This is our 8x8 HDMI 2.0B matrix switcher. This features an SDR seamless switching, MPEG-H audio, HDR10 Plus, and Dolby Vision. Each output for this switcher has an independent scaling engine, which has an image rotation independent for each output as well. Pretty simple HDMI 8x8 switcher. It's ideal for meeting spaces, resi-commercial spaces, home offices, and any other easy integration AV systems. And then here, one of my personal favorites is the MVS41. This is our 4x1 4K 60 HDMI up-down scaling multi-view switcher. The switcher has various modes for multi-view, has single image, PBP, PIP, and also has 14 scaling engine resolutions along with 17 built-in EDIT tables. This is ideally used for conference rooms, entertainment setups, or home theater setups for more residential AV systems. Here we have our UHD 120. This is our 1x2 UHD 4K HDMI distribution amplifier. It's designed to split a single HDMI signal to two independent outputs. It's a pass-through of Dolby Vision, Atmos, MPEG-H, dynamic metadata. This is typically used for home theater, presentations, or any other multimedia applications. And we also have a slightly bigger version of this. It is our UHD 140. This is our 1x4 HDMI 2.0 distribution amplifier. It also supports 4K 60, 444 video, and it splits the HDMI input signal to 4 different outputs, all HDCP 2.2 compliant. It also has an active input and output LED indicator, whether the port is active or not, or selected. And it supports DEC pass-through. This is ideal for home theater, presentation, and other multimedia applications. And next we have is our HT140U, which is actually a variant of our 1x4 distribution amplifier system. This is an HDBaseT distribution system for 4K 60. As you can see in the picture here, there are 4 HDBaseT outputs. The little box at the bottom of this picture image, you can see there's an HDMI output port. It connects and it is powered by HDBaseT through the original transmission distribution box. And the main transmission box also has an HDMI input port and a loop out port if you don't need to use the receiver extension with this. This is ideal for conference rooms, entertainment setups, digital signage, needing easy integration with AV systems. Then here we have our HWCE4. Our HWCE4 is actually a great example of what I mentioned before, a hybrid system, although not like the PS610 where you're able to switch in between ports. This is more of a hybrid system for extension uses. This is a 4K 60 100 meter wall plate extension system where the wall plate acts as the transmitter and has one HDMI input port and one USB-C input port. You're able to switch between the two input ports by clicking on the source button on the wall plate transmitter. Then the receiver box is powered through the the wall plate is also powered on by the receiver box by HDBaseT as well. The receiver box also has an HDMI input port and an HDMI output port if you need to use it on the receiver side as well, along with USB-A ports. This is ideal for any meeting spaces, home theater, and home offices needing easy integration with in-wall AV systems. And next we have our HC3L TX-RX. This is our 4K HDMI over HDBaseT extension system. Cool thing about this is that the transmitter actually has a loop out on it. If you don't need the receiver, you can just use the transmitter itself, use the source, connect it through the HDMI input port, and then use the loop out for preview monitor for the transmitter as well. But if you would like to use the receiver, our HC3L TX and RX, the RX side has 2 HDMI output ports. So if you would like to send it to more than one display, you may do it using through the receiver of this extension system. These are powered HDBaseT. It's bidirectional IR RS-232 extension as well. It's typically used for any enterprise AV, universities, or meeting systems, requiring easy extension integration with any AV systems. And then lastly, we have our HOF T3TX RX. This is our 4K60 fiber extender with loop out and audio embedding, de-embedding, TAA compliant extender. So this extender is extending HDMI signal over fiber. The fiber it uses is an SFP plus module for one LC connection that supports single mode fiber. It supports HDMI 2.0, HDCP 2.2 compliant, and it supports HDR as well. Also has bidirectional IR and RS-232 control signals and diagnostic LEDs as well. This is ideal for enterprise AV, government, military, and any mission critical systems requiring easy extension integration for their AV systems. And next here we have our PureStream, which is our AV over IP solutions. As I mentioned before, AV over IP is widely being used now with different endpoints that incorporate HDMI into its encoders, decoders, transmitters, and receivers. First off, we have here our VIP T400 encoders and decoders. These are 4K60 HDMI and USB KVM cat and fiber encoders and decoders. They're used for instant switching. You hook these up to a network switcher and you locate it by its IP address, and then you match the channel numbers. You're able to scale it and rotate the image. On the encoder side, you can see there's an HDMI loop out port. For the receiver side, there's only an or the decoder, I should say, there's only an HDMI output side. But there's also different flexibility. If you don't want to connect it via CAT, you can connect it via fiber as well. This is ideally used for enterprise AV, government, military, or any mission critical systems requiring flexible matrix switching that integrates USB and AV transport. And to supplement what I've just shown, we have our VIP T400 EWP, which is our encoder wall plate. If you need any in-wall AV over IP encoding in your AV system, our encoder wall plate is a 2-gang wall plate. Does the same thing, has the same capabilities, and it's controlled over a 1G network system. Next here is our newest of the line of our PureStream VIP product. It is the VIP 150 encoder and decoder. It is our most affordable and highly efficient AV over IP solution that delivers full HD video with USB extension, and it also has multi-view capabilities over a 1G network. This is powered by PoE, but because this is more geared towards system and integrators for who really don't need 4K60, they're looking for more of the cost-efficient side, and they're trying to future-proof a system that needs scalability. VIP 150 is perfect. It displays perfect 1080p 60 video, and it has a multi-view function on it as well. It's perfect for any educational institution, digital signage, and KVM workstations, and cost-sensitive deployments needing HD video and control. And here we have our VIP Cam 3020X. This is our Pro PTZ camera with HDMI port, a USB 2.0 port, and a LAN output port. This is controlled via Visca and Pelco, and is powered by PoE or local power if you do not have a network switcher to power via PoE. This is ideal for meeting spaces, classrooms, and any recording studios needing easy integration with AV-based systems. And here, this is our biggest solution we have for mission critical cases. This is our Max 2 cross-platform matrix switcher. Little introduction to our switcher right here. The Max 2 is the world's first matrix switching and extension system that provides Ultra HD 4K 60 over HDMI 2.0, HD-base-T 3.0, DisplayPort 1.2, 1 LC fiber, and 12G SDI. With its dynamic and proprietary design features and technologies, the Max 2 provides a truly adaptive solution that works where and however you need it, depending what system and projects you are designing. It is also 8K ready if you require an 8K spec in your system or project as well. And the biggest thing about this, along with the technicalities of it, is that it's TAA and NDAA compliant as well. So here for the Max 2, it comes in various sizes like a 20 by 20, 36 by 36, 72 by 72, 144 by 144, 216 by 216, and our largest frame, the 288 by 288. All of these frame sizes incorporates an OmniFlex modular design and also integrates Dante as well into the system. The OmniFlex modular design just means that we have hot swappable PSUs, input-output cards, and an airlift cooling system that you're able to swap in and out inside the Max 2 frame. So to tie this into HDMI today, this would be a cross-platform where if you need HDMI and the system also recalls SDI, but just for simplicity's sake, we'll say the smallest frame we have is a 20 HDMI input by 20 HDMI output system. And then our largest frame would be a 288 HDMI input by 288 HDMI output system. But again, the Max 2 is available for cross-platform switching, so it's available for SDI, fiber, HD-base-T, and DisplayPort as well. Just to show you what the HDMI cards will look like, first here is our Max 2 HIS 100. This is our 4K 60 HDMI input card that has 4 HDMI input ports for the Max 2. Each card has an unbalanced 2-channel stereo analog audio embedding and de-embedding. Like any other Max 2 spec, parts, and frame, they will all be TAA and NDA compliant. And here we have our Max 2 HOS 100. This is the same as the HIS 100, except for this is the output card of the Max 2 frame. It is also built with a built-in scaler, which allows for upscaling or downscaling for video to maintain the same output resolution across all displays. Like the input card, every output card will have 4 HDMI output ports on the card. It will also come with unbalanced 2-channel stereo analog audio embedding and de-embedding ports. It's ideal for any enterprise AV, government, military, corporate settings, 24/7 mission critical systems that require flexible matrix switching and integration for AV transport. And last but not least, we have total wire for total connectivity. We can't leave out the actual connection for HDMI, the cables itself. What we have here are 3 different HDMI cables, the TWH series. So what differentiates these 3 cables is that the 8000 are our PureLink total wire 8K HDMI cables. TWH 8000 is our passive 8K HDMI cable that goes to a max length of 5 meters. And then we have our TWH 8000F, which means HDMI over fiber. We have various lengths of this for 10 meters or 20 meters. And then finally our TWH 1000, these are our passive HDMI cables, which go up to max length of 5 meters. Their specs is only 4K 60, 444, uncompressed video, also supports HDR as well. So at the end of the day, it still comes down to the cable for HDMI, and every HDMI has the same exact orientation. The specs will be different depending on what version of the HDMI. As you can see, we have 8K cables and 4K cables. In the future, there'll probably be cables that'll be more commonly used for higher resolution content as well. But that here is where I would like to just conclude the webinar. Thank you for joining. Just like to leave you guys with a thought before I close this HDMI webinar. HDMI may be over 20 years old, but it continues because HDMI is always technically evolving. As you saw, HDMI just released version 2.2 this past summer, and it has a crazy resolution, maximum threshold for it. It's always going to be practically universal. As you saw in the Resi-Mercial, 76% of the AV equipment uses HDMI, and it's always going to be strategically sound to use HDMI to be central part of your AV system and design, as a lot of these AV equipment still use HDMI as opposed to other types of cables like USB-C and other cables like DisplayPort, fiber, and SDI. And from classrooms to stadiums, from conference rooms to control centers, HDMI still rules all of them. So just like to conclude, before I conclude, I'm sorry, I would like to invite you to join PureLink's community through our various media outlets here. At PureLink AV through LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, X, and Facebook. But like always, if you have any questions about our products or any solutions you may need for your systems or designs, or if you're looking to design and have any questions with us, please feel free to reach out to our email, sales@purelink.com, or you can always just call our phone number 201-488-3232. Like always, we always look forward to hearing any of your experiences or questions or any solutions you may need. But thank you for joining today's webinar, and we'll be looking forward to see you at the next PureLink University webinar. Thank you.